for your IG or maybe YouTube, all right, for people that have anxiety, what could they do? What's the problem? Why do people have anxiety? You just said it. You just told us.
The people have anxiety because they lack truth. They lack the inspiration toward the truth. The truth, when you accept truth, what that does, that empowers you to face reality. If you're full of lies and false information, then you're not going to be confident in your actions and your moves, because there's no power in falsehood. There's only power in truth. But if the truth is being hid under a bushel basket, like it says in the scriptures, like it's being, you hide your light under a bushel basket. If you hide the truth like that, why are they hiding the truth? Why don't they want the truth known? What will the truth do to the people, these citizens? What will the truth do? Will the truth motivate people to stand up and do what they know they should do? The reason why they lie in the first place is because they don't want you to stand up. They want you to be docile and accept abuse and unjust practices toward you and those around you. That's where anxiety comes, because most people know that they doing wrong. They know that they should stand up, but it's fear and cowardice that blocks you from standing up.
Right.
It's fear and cowardice that stops you from standing up, and that's what blocks people from being confident and at peace. Because fear, you can't have peace when you're afraid. But why are you afraid? Because of death? Because of pain, uncomfortability? What are you afraid of? Look at the U.S. government, the evils that they do and the unjust practices. Most people are afraid to address that. But why are you afraid to talk about the evils of this government and the evils of the international bankers and the evils of these institutions? Why are you afraid to talk about it? That's why you have anxiety, because God don't give a damn about your fear. He only cares that you know the truth and you're not speaking it and living it. That's all that matters. God don't look at it how we look at it. See, if you truth, you have to speak it, and you have to speak it with authority. Then God is there, right there to support you. But anytime you're afraid, you don't know God, because God replaces fear with strength when you know God, when you really know God. That's where anxiety and sadness and depression and all this shit come from, because you're out of balance. You're not in harmony with God.
They're not facing the truth.
No, they're not facing the truth, and they're not facing their own weaknesses and overcoming. We got to fight on two fronts. You got to fight outside of yourself with the government and wicked institutions. Then you got to fight within yourself to master your own low desires. That's a fight on two fronts. That can crush you. And if you ain't, that can crush you, dude. You weak on the inside and on the outside. That's pressure. That can crush you. And that's why people are losing their minds, because the mind is supposed to empower you to be able to behave a certain way and handle pressure. But if you don't have the intelligence to respond to pressure and adversity and situations the right way, then you're not equipped. You're not strong enough to handle the pressure within and without. I mean, you're bowing to the pressures within and your own weaknesses, and you're not equipped to handle an enemy outside of yourself. Basically, the enemy within yourself and the enemy without yourself. First, you got to correct the enemy within, and then you correct the enemy without. And if you can't correct the enemy without, then we either have to separate or go to war. That's how it goes. I can't live amongst my enemy unless we don't come to a peaceful arrangement. Then we have to separate. But I can't separate from my own conscience. I mean that I have to elevate my conscience to a degree where I become intelligent enough to handle my own problems and adversity, and I'm strong enough to handle those pressures that come with adversity. Otherwise, you're going to turn to drugs. You're going to turn to all this to escape reality of your weakness and your cowardice that causes anxiety, depression, stress, and all this other shit you're dealing with. Those are the after effects of your own weak and cowardice. You don't experience anxiety initially. That's after you don't accept responsibility.
And then also touch on, you had mentioned earlier that he's like, hey, you know what? Whatever. If they want to be dumb, I'm going to let them be dumb. I'm going to take care of myself. But you mentioned that if he does that, he's just as bad as everybody else.
You're just as guilty as the conspirators of evil. If you see the problem and you know that you have the knowledge that God has blessed you with, or the information that God has blessed you with, to cause the solution to the problem, or to present a solution to the problem, but you don't go out here and help the people, then you're just as guilty as the conspirators of those who are causing the problems. You just as guilty, unless you put yourself in action and say, you know what, I'm not going to allow that because I know better, I'm going to do better. That's the problem. People
Yep.
know better, but they're not doing better because we got all these sick desires. Once again, until you address your own weaknesses, you're not ready because you're going to be faced with temptations and all this other stuff, but you got to be strong in here in order to face adversity. Otherwise, you're not ready. Then you're either going to kill yourself or somebody else is going to kill you, or you're going to slowly die from just being self-destructive. So that's what you're witnessing right now. Is people are facing a crossroads with the enemy within themselves and the enemy without themselves.
Real quick, if you could touch on what somebody could do when they wake up for free that'll help them get stronger. It could be food, it could be thinking about something, or what's something that somebody could wake up that anybody can do. They could be in prison, they could be tied up in a room, kidnapped. What, say they hear this, what could they think, or what should they, the first thing you should think of when you wake up? Something to motivation, just something they could do.
They got to make sacrifices. If
Okay.
you're in jail, that's the ultimate I'm not going to say the ultimate sacrifice because that's an unfortunate situation because a lot of people get arrested and unjustly. If you're in prison, that's a more controlled atmosphere to sacrifice because you're not faced with temptations in jail. But when you're out in the world, you have to make sacrifices. No sex, no drugs, no alcohol. Developing a program to activate your body and mind, whether that's a workout program, whether that's stretching, whether that's meditation, something you can do to empower this and this. You got to make a sacrifice, especially if you're not used to working out or doing something active. That's a sacrifice. That's uncomfortable. You have to do that first, but it's some sacrifice you got to make. Especially the food you put in your body. We talk about that all the time. But see, people talk that, but they go right out here and put the same poisons in their body that they know they shouldn't do. You have to stop that. If you know you're not supposed to put this poison in your body, or if you don't know what it is, then research what it is before you put it in your temple. Because it affects your mind, the cellular structure of the body, and it affects your organs. And all that affects your mood, your attitude, that affects your drive, your motivation. The foods that you put in your body does more than we even realize. It affects the nature that you're created in. You have to correct that and then make worthy sacrifices. Worthy sacrifices.
Also, let them know about the media, the TV. Where should they go to seek the truth? If they were going to go on YouTube, or you have a book, where could they get that at?
My ebook, 7 Simple Secrets to Doubling Muscle Gains, is a manuscript where I talk about the myths and inconsistencies of the fitness and health world. And I relate that to real life situations. But if you read books like Fall of America by Elijah Muhammad, or How to Eat to Live, book 1 and book 2 by Elijah Muhammad, these are good sources to start because these men expose what you see now in 2023, they talked about in the 60s and 50s. That's going on right now. You read those books, you'll have a better idea of what's going on. Don't read nothing new. Go back in history and read. Men with integrity and men that are qualified to tell you what's happening right now. Elijah Muhammad is probably the best source. And that's the founder of the Nation of Islam, as you may know. But go to his source and read The Fall of America, Our Savior Has Arrived, How to Eat to Live. And you don't have to make a decision. Just read and calculate what you read intelligently. Like you do when the enemy tell you something, you just accept it. Do the same thing on the opposite end. Weigh what you read and weigh what you watch, and then make an intelligent decision. Don't just believe what somebody tell you, but you have to calculate what somebody tell you. That's how you know if it's the truth or not. But you have to have intelligence to do that. Anybody can tell you anything, but it's only one way to determine if it's the truth. And you only can do that by the law of mathematics, by calculating what they say and putting it into use and effect. That's the only way.
Now, you kind of touched the topic, but semen retention and then fasting. You think everybody should try that?
That's a worthy sacrifice because they promote sex like they do for a reason. When you can come away from that powerful urge, because sex and food are two powerful desires. The desire for sex and food are two powerful urges. You can control that, you're well on your way. When you can keep control of the flesh, you're well on your way to elevating spiritually, because you can't serve both. Either you serve the flesh and its lusts and urges, or you'll come into the spiritual desires. But you got to be careful because the spiritual has a low side to that as well. It takes proper calculations and proper information to know which way to go spiritually, because Satan has that area too. But especially the flesh. This is Satan's world. The flesh is always targeted with the GMO foods, with the sex images that we see on the internet and all of that. It's the reason why they promote that. If you can start there, then it's an evolutionary journey. You got to be patient with yourself, but it's an evolutionary journey. Then things will start to crystallize for you, and God will guide you properly. But you got to first make the sacrifice, and then your intuition will become stronger and stronger in which way to go. But you got to start with mastering the flesh, then the intuition gets stronger.
And Jay, this might go on YouTube or Instagram. So state your YouTube and Instagram, and then just finish it off with something that you want to say, to give some motivation, or if there's somebody out there that you want to touch.
I hope this was motivational. But no, my YouTube is The Ripper, TheRipper. My Instagram is @JAQUE The Ripper. My message to the people is just to stay informed with the correct, even with the wrong information. Just have information readily available, and then don't just accept it as reality first. Weigh it, calculate it, what's going on in reality, and then you'll know which decisions to make. Don't act out of emotion and ego. Humble yourself and take in the information, and then calculate your moves from there. But this is where it starts. Taking care of your body, your health. That's not for ego and for chasing women and men. That ain't what fitness is about. It's about you becoming one with yourself. That's what working out is for. Because nobody can make you do those reps. Nobody can make you show up to the sessions or working out. You have to first establish that discipline within yourself and come away from all of the temptations. But you have the power to do that. No one else can make you do that. You have the power to do that. And you have to continue to be on that path of evolution. Allow yourself, empower yourself, encourage yourself. If no one else does it, you have to establish that self-love within you to do that and understand the value of it, of self-love and self-discipline. It ain't for nobody else's benefit, it's for yours. Concentrate on yourself. Focus on yourself for your own self-evolution, and then you can bring other people with you. But don't look for attention, don't look for other people to approve of you. Just do it genuinely and sincerely for yourself. And then God will be with you in that genuine process. God is only there when it's genuine, righteous and genuine, because you can be wicked and genuine. If it's righteous and upright, positive and genuine, God is with you. God is not a spook. God is not religious. God is universal. God is mathematical. God is the law and the highest law of science and mathematics. And the only way we can tap into that is by submitting to that law. Not what men have created for confusion and destruction. You can study that, but then come into your own power by understanding I got to come away from the wicked teachings by proper calculations and say this is where I need to go, because this look at the condition of society and understand how it got to that point and say, okay, now I got to go in this direction because this is why the society is effed up. Once I see that and acknowledge that, now I can go in another direction, and you'll naturally come up, because most people are down in society because they followed society. Go in the opposite direction and you may come up, but always calculate your thoughts and your moves.
Beautiful, Jay. Thank you for that.